What is biology? Biology is the study of life, and life is one of the most complex and unlikely things to happen in the universe, at least as far as we have been able to observe. The chemical building blocks of life are elements that make up all non-living matter, from the rocks under our feet to faraway nebulae. The chemistry of natural substances undergoing change through their interactions makes a leap into the realm of biology under certain circumstances. However, the way these molecules organize themselves and interact in living organisms is unique. Life is capable of incredible diversity of design. It comes in a dizzying array of shapes, sizes, colors, functions, and modes of being. Whether an organism is made up of one cell or trillions of them, they all process the same way in order to function. We will begin our exploration of biology with the characteristics all living things have in common. Living things are made of cells, the smallest unit of life as we know it. A single cell can be an organism in itself, like bacteria and archaea, or cells can work together to create the tissues of a multicellular organism. Aside from being made of cells, there are some traditional properties that living beings share in common, such as the following. All living things we know about are made of at least one cell. Cells are complex in their own right, made up of structures called organelles that perform specific jobs to keep the cells on task. But many organisms are multicellular, consisting of many millions of cells that perform specific functions. All living things are also capable of reproducing itself. Single-celled organisms often reproduce asexually by duplicating their own genetic material to create another identical cell. Animals, plants, and fungi commonly reproduce sexually, which requires two individuals to contribute genetic material to the creation of a third. Living things get bigger and change over the course of their lives, and all the instructions for how to do this are sorted out in the genetic instructions of the organism. Sometimes this can seem pretty straightforward, like a pine sapling's growth into a giant tree, and sometimes the path is circuitous, like a caterpillar's path to becoming a butterfly. The function of living things depends on a series of chemical reactions that make it possible for organisms to do work, like growing and moving around. In order to do this, organisms must convert the energy they consume into energy they can use. And the mechanisms for doing this vary widely across types of organisms. In order for all living things to maintain a stable internal environment while adjusting to their surroundings, they must go through a process called homeostasis. This process helps the body constantly self-regulate through a system of biochemical checks and balances to keep the cells and organs functioning correctly. Living things display irritability, or the ability to be aware of and to react to stimuli in the environment through behavioral or physiological means. Whether it's a dog salivating when in front of his favorite treat, a sunflower turning to face the sun as it moves across the sky, or your tendency to flinch when you hear a loud noise. These are examples of organisms responding to their environment. The scientific method. Science is a process for getting us closer to an objective truth about the world. And although scientific labor is varied and complicated enough to make it difficult to unify and generalize anything about it, the scientific method is a helpful guide for scientists working to better understand some aspect of the universe. The scientific method, as we know it today, is based on empiricism, the idea that theories can only be proved through observation and experimentation. Using the scientific method, scientists formulate plausible explanations for an observed phenomenon. Scientists have to observe, ask a question, formulate a hypothesis, make a prediction, conduct an experiment. Need an easy way to remember the scientific method? Remember the acronym RIP-HOT. After you recognize a problem, you could investigate and gather information and propose a hypothesis. Start hypothesis testing through experimentation and observe and record data. After that, you can finally test the hypothesis by analyzing results. The purpose of the scientific method is to come up with plausible explanations for observed phenomena, and then try to disprove that hypothesis by any means available to science until the refined hypothesis proves itself to be indestructible. To this day, the scientific method has helped us learn a lot about our world that we didn't know before. That's everything we have in this lesson. If you need to review what you learned, go to www.scienceaide.com and access our study guide, download the PDF, and learn science smarter.